This is a short screencast about how to read 3 different ways. The first way is reading for pleasure, but I really don't have so much to tell you about this. Everybody knows how to read for pleasure for their own selves, and I'm not interested in correcting you or changing anything about that. I am, however, interested in talking to you about reading to learn. There are numerous strategies, some of which I'm sure you've been taught already, for reading to learn. Strategies for reading that will help you learn what a text has to teach you. For instance, you may have been taught to do a full text scan to sort of look at the headings and the main sections of a text. You may have been taught even to annotate in the margins, writing down key ideas, words, phrases, even questions in the margins. You may also have learned that it's a good idea to summarize after you've read or at certain points during the text to summarize to make sure that you solidify what it is that you've just read and what you understand about what the text has said. You may even have asked yourself questions of the text after you've read or while you're going along. These strategies for reading are really good for preparing for a discussion or trying to understand something prior to, say, a testing situation. For instance, in the piece that you read for the discussions of this week and even last week, the piece called Educating for Citizenship, you may have come upon this heading and asked yourself, what does she mean by bifurcation versus integrated intentional learning? That question may then have shaped what you saw in the subsequent text, and you might have wanted to come up with at least a tentative answer to what those two terms mean. This would help you prepare for a good discussion of the text, a productive discussion of the text. In a similar vein, when you were looking at this rough outline of the Toole-Minian argument model, you might have wanted to take some notes on these terms: claim, grounds, warrant, backing, qualifier, and rebuttal. These are all terms that you can use in analyzing argument. These are terms that might help you also to understand the arguments that other people are making, as well as to shape your own arguments. This leads us to reading to write. Many of the strategies for reading to write are linked to and similar to those for reading to understand or to learn, but you should also be thinking about how to read opportunistically. This means simply taking advantage of what the text has in order to accomplish your own goals as a writer. For instance, if you are doing research for a piece of writing that you're planning, you might want to find arguments and quotations and expert testimony that supports an argument you are trying to make. On the other hand, you may also be looking for an argument that says the exact opposite of the point you're trying to make, or that differs from your argument in key ways, because such an argument might help you set up your own argument more effectively. When you're reading to write, you should take notes. Take specific notes on the text so that you can use those notes to help you find quotations and points in the text that you can use as you're writing. You should also make sure to keep track of bibliographic information because you're going to have to document your writing. So you'll want to have bibliographic information that will help you construct an accurate bibliography. Finally, you should also, as you're reading to write, make sure to choose your sources with care. You should ask yourself, is this a reputable source? Is the writer recognized as an authority, or could I track that person's authority? Is the source itself found in a reputable publication? These are questions that we'll investigate as we deal with rhetorical analysis, but they're also questions that are applicable to your reading. To sum up, you should be thinking about reading strategically. When you look at a text, you should ask yourself, what is this text and why am I reading it? The why should help you to determine what way or ways that you might want to approach it in order to accomplish your goal for reading that text. For all kinds of reading, that is reading to learn and reading to write, annotating the source and taking notes on the source will help you get exponentially more out of those sources than you would otherwise. And just remember to keep track of the details of the pieces you're reading, because this will help you later as you're assembling your bibliography or figuring out how to cite your sources.